Hey guys, welcome back to It's Now or Never. I'm your host, Alex Willard, and today we are going to be talking about navigating that quarter life crisis. So I just want to say welcome back. This is episode 11. Wow, we made it into the double digits finally, and we're back and better than ever. If anybody listened to episode 10, my story part 3, I want to reflect on that a little bit. So if you haven't listened, I totally suggest going back and listening to that. It really sets the base for you. So I really wanted to get my story out there, but I don't want to make my platform about my trauma and the most depressing, darkest thing I ever went through in my life. This podcast is supposed to be not what happened to me, but how I got out of it and how I continued to keep going, how I continued to better myself, and how I got to where I am now and how I'm going to get to where I want to be in the future. So this is not going to be all about my story on child exploitation and how awful that was and how hard it was for me. Not at all. This is going to be mental health, self-development, how to build the dream you, how to continue to propel yourself in life, continue to develop yourself, and just make yourself better every day, being mindful, being self-aware, and just learning to seek fulfillment. So here we are, and we're not just going to talk about self-development. We're going to do it. This podcast is called It's Now or Never for a reason, okay? It's more than just a podcast. It is a call to action. We are going to challenge you, You have to challenge yourself. You have to start taking those steps. I'm going to teach you how to set those goals and then achieve them. I will be here to support you on your journey every step of the way to begin to transform your life one episode at a time. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me on my podcast Instagram, on my main Instagram, through my email. Everything is linked in the bio of this episode. So if you go there, you guys can shoot me an email, a text anytime you want, and I will definitely answer you. But remember, this is not even about waiting for the perfect moment, okay? Going back to the premise of the name of the podcast, It's Now or Never. There is never going to be a perfect moment. My dad always talks about, what's the best time to plant a tree, right? 10 years ago. What's the second best time? Right now. So we are going to plant that tree and we're going to water it and we're going to grow it into the beautiful human that you are going to become. And it's about realizing that no matter if you're looking to improve your mental health, discover your passion, simplify and find more joy in every day, it is now or never. And this is going to be your guide to unlocking that brighter, happier, and more fulfilled you. So let's make it happen, okay? And if you are listening on Spotify, open up your phone if you're not driving, and you can actually watch this as a video, or you can go to the link in the bio of the episode and watch this on YouTube, and you guys can watch me talk if you want to, if that's your thing. But let's just get right into this episode, okay? Defining the quarter life crisis. What even is this quarter life crisis thing, okay? It is the period of time in our 20s and our early 20s that we all can describe as that uncertainty or anxiety for what's to come. It is also known as this quarter life crisis. Who am I? Where am I going to go in life? what am I going to become? Am I making the right decisions? How, like, also learning about how to navigate being by yourself. You probably just moved out of home and you're learning how to do all those things on yourself now, like completely by yourself. You're learning to support yourself financially, mentally, physically, and trying to keep your head above water while also becoming successful and developing this professional version of you and develop your education, all these wonderful, wonderful things. So today we're going to talk about what this so-called quarter life crisis looks like and how to utilize these different strategies for self-reflection, goal setting, and then helping you to navigate this phase more efficiently and effectively. So just moving on to this next part, it's going to be recognizing the signs. Like, what does these uncertainty or feelings of anxiety even look like in these quarter life crisis or your early 20s? These different feelings are probably going to be really familiar to you. They definitely resonate really well with me. So these are, career confusion. I am going through this so much right now, having to go to career fairs and having internship applications and interviews. Like, I don't even know what kind of job I want to do. I'm a double major. I can do 2 completely different things in my life, or I can have this podcast for the rest of my life, whatever. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know who I want to be. So this uncertainty about what path to choose in the workforce and the pressure you have to make a significant decision that is going to define your professional life and the rest of your life. The decisions you make now are going to determine how much money you make in a few years and how many kids you're going to be able to financially support, if you're going to be even happy doing your job. What if you choose a job now that you think is super cool that nobody's hiring for in the future because AI is taken over or whatever? Those fears are all so relevant. I promise you, we're all feeling that. And if you're not feeling that, good for you. Good for you. You'll probably feel it at some point, but here's where a lot of us are at. And then this identity crisis. Oh my gosh. The reason why I made this podcast, I suggest reverting back to episode 2, Finding Sense of Self. That is a very, very, very important episode. Also, episode 1, Where Do I Start? A lot of that just talks about finding that sense of self and who you are and just learning to be unapologetically you, not trying to jump on a path that somebody else is on because you want to be like them, but learning to find what's fulfilling for you, find what is meant for you, and being able to go down that right path and just being so concrete in that sense of self. I feel like that's something I talk about a lot, is just being concrete in who you are and being confident in who you are and going with that. So listen to all these previous episodes, but I think those are definitely 2 of the most important ones that apply to this episode. But being able to, this is a time where we're reevaluating our values and our beliefs and our goals. I think a lot of us are exploring, we probably grew up on all these different ideas politically, religiously, morally, and now we're really asking ourselves, is that what I believe in? And if it is, good for you. If it's not, okay, figure it out. Like, that is what this time is for. It is for exploring who you are, what you believe in, and what you care about, who you want to be, and desiring that establishment of that sense of self. You need to want to figure out who you are. Don't want to be like everybody else. Like, tell yourself, like, I'm going to find myself and I'm going to figure out who I am, and I'm going to explore all these different things and figure it out, because that is literally what this point in your life is for. And it's perfect while you still have that like cushion of college and you're not really out in the real world. Wow, words are hard. But yeah, next is relationship challenges. Oh my God, I'm a sophomore in college. I've had my fair share of these already. Questioning those current relationships you're in, seeking new ones, struggling with commitment or partnership, the fear of being stuck with somebody for too long, or the fear of you're going to lose somebody and you're going to die alone. I feel like we're all feeling all of those feelings at once. And then a big one is hookup culture. Okay, I know as a girl in college, in the dating scene, there's a lot of pressure to perform for a guy. You have to act, you have to look sexy, and if you go out with a guy, he expects you to do stuff, expects you to take your clothes off, whatever. That is so common nowadays, so common. And it's really hard as, a girl trying to grow confidence in yourself and who you are, and not, seeking that physical validation and affirmation. Something I struggled with for a really long time, and I still struggle with, is attention from guys. Sometimes I really base my self-worth off, what guys want to talk to me and what guys say about my physical features. And so I put so much pressure on my physical features and how I look and how my body looks. And I stop really appreciating who I am and digging deeper and finding myself. I become this surface level version of myself. Next is financial concerns. College is very expensive. You have student loans, you have rent, you have the whole thing of learning how to manage your expenses and budgeting. Groceries, especially right now with the economy, everything is so freaking expensive. But groceries, gas, if you have a gym membership, you want to go out and buy new clothes. I struggle sometimes with spending on my rent money on clothes or shoes and not actually spending it on my rent. Or the other day I went out to the bar and overdrew my bank account and got $140 overdraw charge, and I was like, what the heck? I didn't even know this was a thing. Yeah, financial concerns to the max. Okay. Second to last is social comparisons. This is so common now with the prevalence of highlight reels in social media. We only put out the best version of ourselves. Obviously, I'm not going to post a picture when I just roll out of bed or when I'm having a bad day or when my boyfriend breaks up with me, right? I'm going to post a picture when I look skinny, when I'm face-tuned, when I'm out with friends, so it looks like I have friends. All that kind of stuff. You post the highlights of your life. And so this skews our perception on real life, and it gives us an unrealistic expectation on what your life is supposed to look like. When you follow all these influencers that are taking these brand trips and they have all these new clothes and they use all this makeup and they have all these expensive things and they're living this lavish lifestyle, you want to do that, but you're a baddie on a budget, balling on a budget, and just trying to figure it out. You can't afford to buy $600 shoes. You can't afford to go get the $9 Hailey Bieber smoothie at Erewhon, whatever. You get what I'm talking about. And then feeling lost or aimless. This is such a big thing. It's really lacking that clear direction or purpose. Again, back to the first part of this, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. You have no sense of purpose. You don't have that motivation to do anything because you don't know what's meant for you, right? This is so difficult, especially when it comes to not just your professional life, but even in the dating scene. Right now we're at the point that whoever you date, you might marry this person. So do you want children? Where do you want to live after college? All these different things are now becoming pressures on our brain, something we have to figure out. You have to know this so that then you can start looking for it. Because what if you date a guy, get married to a guy that doesn't want kids and you want kids? Well, you're screwed, right? All of these fears suck. But how are we supposed to deal with these? Okay. So some of the coping strategies that I use, friends of mine use, my therapist has told me to use, there's so many. And the biggest thing with coping strategies is you have to compare them. What is a harmful strategy and what's a helpful strategy, right? Are you kind of like drowning out the noise and going to the bars every night and kind of like just, I don't know, becoming a degenerate because you don't want to have to think about these things? Or are you going to the gym? Are you working out? Are you taking care of your body? Are you hanging out with friends? Whatever. Like, going out to the bars is fine, partying is fine, but are you doing it to an unhealthy extent? Are you taking care of yourself in every other realm of your life? So some strategies, mindfulness and self-awareness. Self-awareness is probably one of the biggest things I talk about on this podcast. But this sounds so stupid, but deep breathing and meditations, I promise you, is a game changer. I honestly do these in the sauna at the gym, so nobody's like staring at me, or I'm like, I don't know. I feel like if I do this in my room, I just feel so like weird and I want to laugh at myself. But really, like, just deep breathing, meditations, connecting with yourself, connecting with the space you're in, and just being able to reflect and being able to see the future, and where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? Connecting with that future self is very, very, very important. Something I learned in one of my classes is there is such a big empathy gap with you and yourself 10 years from now. That's why we don't financially invest. That's why we don't take care of our bodies as much as we should, because our future self seems like a stranger in our head. And so if we can start to have those conversations with our future self, seeing what that looks like, seeing how we're going to get there, or seeing what that looks like and seeing how we're not going to get there, that is so important, but it's so hard to do. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of self-reflection and meditation. Next is working out. This helps me so much. Reflecting on my day. I talked about this on my last episode. The gym saved my life. The gym is my home. It is my me time. I do not work out with people. If you work out with friends, good for you. It's my space. I don't like sharing it with people. So I can either leave everything at the door, completely forget about my day, and just be like kind of mindless in my workout, or I can really reflect on my day, reflect on the things that happened. And I like it because I get to control what I'm putting my body through. I get to control that uncomfort, that pain that I put my body through. And I feel like I have control over myself. And it's somewhere where you can see success in, you can see like visual success. It takes time, but it's such a good outlet for your body. And then journaling for self-reflection is also really important. Writing about your feelings, your goals, your concerns that you have in life. This is really good because it's getting those thoughts out of your brain onto a piece of paper. You can shut that journal and put it away on the shelf. Or you can use it and look back on it and kind of use it as a benchmarking tool. Seeing that, okay, when I was 19, I was wanting to do data analytics, and now I'm 23 and I'm a data analyst at Apple. Or I was scared that I wasn't going to graduate, or I was scared that I was going to fail this class. Okay, well, I didn't, and I did good. And so you can look at those as some accomplishments to reassure yourself that you're good enough. Don't worry. The next key is seeking support networks. The importance of reaching out to friends and family is something I never really understood in the beginning. When I went to college, I am so sorry, but I was so ready to get away from my family. I was ready to get away from Allen, Texas, ready to move out, never turn back. And now I call my mom almost every day. Like now when I'm going through it, I call my mom and I reach out to those people that know me well and that raised me and watched me grow up and really know how to help me and take care of me. And so some different things you can do to reach out. Like with my mom, I'm like, hey mom, I'm struggling with, how I spend my money. Can you give me tips on how you strategized your spending habits when you were my age? Or, hey Susie, I've had a really tough week and I really just need some positivity in my life. You want to go get some coffee? But something I struggle with is not reaching out because other people don't reach out. So I'm like, because Susie isn't asking me to hang out, she's not my friend and she doesn't want to be friends with me. She doesn't hang out with me. So then I don't reach out to Susie to ask her to hang out. She's probably feeling the exact same way I did. So in my head, I'm like, wow, I don't have friends. Like, nobody asks me to hang out. But it's like, I don't ask anybody else to hang out. Why would anybody ask me? Does that make sense? Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. Professional counseling or therapy. There is such a negative stigma around therapy. There's nothing shameful or embarrassing about going to a therapist. I know so many people, young and old, that go to a therapist and they find it so beneficial. I love my therapist. I have had a therapist I've been going to therapy since probably right before my junior year of high school, and up until now I've had 3 different therapists, and I've gone through so many different things in life. Boy issues, navigating college, a new job. My whole thing that happened with my child exploitation, bullying in high school, it took a lot. And so for me to get through that, it was so important to have that therapist to be able to talk to and to be able to help me navigate those things. Not because, my therapist doesn't give me advice, but she helps me work through these issues myself. She gives me the proper tools. There were some weeks I went to my therapist 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes twice a day, because I was that bad and I was really going through it. But now I talk to my therapist maybe every 2-3 weeks, because I've developed those tools now to be able to cope with these different things and help myself get through adversity and get through these problems. But if I ever need to, if I'm having a bad week, if I need to just talk to someone, if I am drowning and things are going south, I can send her a text and I can meet with her whenever I need. And it's absolutely amazing. I love my therapist. She's amazing. And you need to prioritize your well-being. It is so important, because your brain, you're going to have the same brain for your whole life. So might as well make it happy. And just learn to cope with these different issues, because you're not going to stop going through troubles in life. It's never going to stop. They all might be different, but things are never going to stop. Next is positive psychology and resilience building. It's something I learned about in class and a few different leadership conferences I've been to, but this can contribute to emotional resilience. Telling yourself all your strengths and accomplishments and having that growth and positive mindset is so important, because when you go through something tough, you're not going to get so down on yourself and just focus on all of your failures. This is discussing the importance of, the importance of your strengths with yourself and the importance of your accomplishments. So, hey, I turned something in my boss and she didn't like it, and she told me that this part looked bad. Wow, I suck. Instead of doing that, this is a learning opportunity. Wow, okay. So she liked this, and this part of my project. She thought it was a really good idea. I just need to fix these things. I just need to be a little bit more tedious next time. Or I need to remember, I have one of the hardest internships to get. That's really important. I need to remind myself I'm in a really good position, and I kind of need to let loose on myself and just be a little kinder. Not to be so harsh and uptight. Next and finally is setting realistic expectations. The pressure that students face to have everything figured out is so much. also the pressure to get a 4.0 and to get top 10 and do all these things. Like, there is so much pressure to do that in college, to be the best of the best. But now, you're trying to go through all these new things in life. And it's the other thing you have to remember about having everything figured out. Like, the natural part of this journey is to figure it out along the way. Like, you should not start your freshman year and know exactly what you're going to do with your life and do it. Like, this is a time to learn new things, learn about yourself, develop yourself, and just get better in all these little aspects of your life. But like, for me, okay, I'm in 20 hours of work a week. I'm in 19 hours of school, over 12 hours of extracurriculars, and I work out, I have a podcast, I do all these things. Like, this affects my grades. I'm not gonna get straight A's all the time. Like, I'm gonna struggle. College is also really hard. This is upper level education. Like, you have to remember that you are in college. You're not in high school, middle school anymore. And so, I have to remind myself, like, if I get a B in my class, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'm in all these other things. Like, I'm also building my resume as well. I'm not just being a loser on the side of taking classes and studying. And so I also ask myself, am I doing too much? I put myself in everything I possibly can. I talk about having that opportunistic mindset and taking all those opportunities, but it also can be toxic sometimes, where you cannot say no to an opportunity because you're scared you're never going to get that opportunity again. So saying yes to everything and doing everything is really, really difficult, to try to make sure that you're not putting too much on your plate. And so it's so normal to have these periods of uncertainty and self-doubt, but hopefully these coping strategies can help create some sort of stability or balance in your mind to help assure yourself like things are going to be okay in these tough times, and help to balance your life a little bit when you're going through these different adversities in your life. So the next part is learning how to set goals and finding your purpose. In one of my classes, we talk about short goals and long-term goals. These short goals are like over the next few weeks, the next few months. Like, I want to get an A on this final exam, or I want to, make $500 this month. Whatever it is, that's a short-term goal. Long-term goal, I want to be able to work for Apple. I want to be able to have 10,000 subscribers. I want to be able to do this, and that. Those are longer-term goals. But you have to also think about, I don't know if anybody's heard about this, but SMART goals, okay? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So every time you create a goal, ask yourself, is this specific? Is this measurable? Is this achievable? Is it relevant? And is it time-bound? What sort of time can I get this done in? Is it something that is feasible? Is this realistic? Am I able to actually accomplish this sort of thing? we are back. I'm so sorry about that. Is it feasible? Is it realistic? And then pursuing your passions and your interests, learning to, if there's something you want to do, go out and fucking do it. Like, don't sit there and just dream about it. Like I said earlier, something my dad says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. Second best time? Today. Okay? So learning to actually go out and pursue those passions of yours. I mean, look at me in this podcast. This was a dream. This was a little goal in my journal, a little note, just a little tiny thought on my Snapchat stories. And one day I actually did it. I actually got a mic. I got my laptop set up. I got my phone and I made a freaking podcast. And here I am, sharing my story for the whole entire internet to listen to, judge me, listen, just judge me, listen, and yeah, I'm affecting people. I'm changing people's lives. It's crazy. And look at that. It's all because I pursued a passion and pursued something I wanted to do. So next is balancing your self-care and academics. Time management. My calendar is so freaking organized, okay? I have every single hour of my day accounted for. My classes, my study time, my social time with my friends, my meetings, my extracurriculars, my sleep, gym time, all of this is all in my calendar, which is amazing. It's something I need. I keep myself very organized, very on task, very much. I have everything planned out in a day. And if I don't have enough time to do something in one day, okay, I'll move it over to the next day and I'll be able to do it the next day. And that way I make sure I get everything done in my week that I need to get done. I don't forget about anything. I don't overschedule myself. Everything is accounted for. And then having that proper balance, learning to properly balance class, study time, extracurriculars, social care, like self-care and social life. All those things are very, very important. And if you cannot learn, if you're doing too much school, not enough self-care, if you're doing too much social, not enough school, that can all have a negative effect on each other. It's all a balance. So when you are, looking to figure out how to navigate this quarter life crisis, your early 20s, college, there are a few books that I've read, I'm currently reading, that I think are absolutely amazing. The first one is something I really just started reading, but I listened to this lady talk a few weeks ago and give a leadership presentation on building that dream you. It's called Dream Traders, and Discovering and Pursuing the Life You Want by Heather Turner. So she really talks about some things. It's like, what trade-offs are you willing to make to get to where you want to be? And where do you want to be? What does that look like? Which is stuff you should be planning out now. You should have those notes now to be able to reflect back on. Next is The Defining Decade. I get told about this book all the time. It's an amazing book. It is Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now by Meg J. Very, very important, because your 20s is literally the most important decade of your life. Don't stress too much. Yeah, it's crazy. Next is Designing Your Life, How to Build a Well-Lived, Joyful Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Another amazing book on really just planning that life you want and figuring it out. And last but not least, I know this is a lot of books. I'm sorry if you're not a reader. I'm really not either, but I love self-development books. The last book is The Quarter Life Breakthrough, Inventing Your Own Oath, Finding Meaningful Work, and Building a Life That Matters by Adam Smiley Poswolsky. And, these books all offer valuable insights to not only survive, but thrive during that quarter life crisis that you have. Okay. So last but not least, final thoughts, takeaways, just reflecting back on what we talked about. Those helpful coping strategies, hurtful versus healthy. Okay. So mindfulness, self-awareness, seeking support networks, professional counseling and therapy, positive psychology and resilience building, and then setting those realistic expectations for yourself. Next, setting goals and finding your purpose, but setting smart goals and really those realistic, feasible goals. And then, is it long-term? Is it short-term? Stuff like that. And then balancing self-care and academics, learning how to organize your schedule, organizing your life, creating that balance between all of your expectations throughout the week, and everything that you're responsible to. Lastly, just those few books I just listed off, just to help you not only survive, but to thrive in your 20s, guys. Girlies, we are here to thrive. And this self-development is how we are going to thrive. Just remember that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of It's Now or Never. I hope you found today's discussion on navigating that quarter life crisis not only insightful but empowering. And just remember that this journey to personal growth and self-development is not only a journey to well-being and fulfillment, but it's a continuous adventure, and the choices that you make today really do shape your tomorrow. And so learning what that tomorrow is, learning how we're going to get there, and then doing it is the most important part. If you're enjoying Einon, please subscribe and leave a review. No matter what listening platform you're on, it would be amazing if you rate this podcast right at the top. And then just leave your thoughts. I know in Spotify, I have a poll on this podcast, as well as, a little Q&A box for what do you want to hear next. If you have any questions or ideas for future episodes, let me know on that. Follow us on Instagram. It's inon.pod, inon.pod. And all of the links are in the bio of this episode. So the link to my website, the link to YouTube, to my socials, any other listening platforms is going to be on that link. But I'm so happy to be able to be here to help support you on your path to a healthier, happier, and more fulfilled life. And as always, take care of yourself, invest in yourself, and remember that it is now or never to create the life that you want. So until next time, stay resilient, stay inspired, and stay well. I love you guys. Peace.